Hello, everyone. Bani ba? Welcome to an episode of Realistically. So, before we get right off the bat, we're going to have a special guest, my dad, who's going to quickly give us an update on Indian elections. Quickly. Okay. Okay. So, have a seat. Camera. Okay. And nobody. Camera. Okay. So, can you tell us what's going on with the Indian elections?
Yeah, Indian elections were conducted over a long period of time, 44 days, and in 7 phases because of the large voting population, which is nearly 1 billion. So they had to stagger the elections to make sure that the elections are fair and no bad incident happens. And June 1st, that is today, uh, the last phase of the voting was completed, and as soon as the voting was completed, most of the news agencies in India started publishing exit polls because exit polls were banned for the duration of the election so that it won't influence voter choice. Therefore, today, according to most news agencies, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party has won the election. There are 543 member of the parliament seats, and out of that, they have to get 272 to form a majority government. But most polls predict that Narendra Modi's party will get at least 350. And it is not just the Narendra Modi's party, they also have a coalition, and they are expected to get 350 votes at least. Of course, the maximum they have projected is 392. And then the opposition party, which is led by Congress, which is an old party, is expected to get 125 votes, and others like independents, etc., they are expected to get around 40 seats.
Okay, I have a question. Is Modi's party, is the BJP going to get an outright majority, or is the coalition getting a majority?
No, yeah, Modi's party will get independently majority, but since they have made the agreement, it is all the parties associated with Modi's party that will form the government. Yeah.
And do you see any change in foreign policy, domestic policy in the new government, or?
No, they have been very successful in conducting foreign policy and also trade policy and also fiscal policy, etc. Therefore, they might want to continue, except for one major problem in India is that rural poverty has reduced, but not enough for people to enjoy life. So they may concentrate on that particular subject, on particular phase, and try to improve the lives of rural people.
What it should be.
City people have already are already enjoying modern facilities like money transfers, high-speed electric trains, etc., and also metro trains, local trains, and therefore the next phase they might want to concentrate on rural population to uplift them from poverty. Okay. They have already done that. Almost like 250 million people have been uplifted from poverty, but that's not enough for India.
Okay, so if let's say you are the economic advisor,
Mhm.
what economic policies would you advise in order to eliminate rural poverty in India?
Yeah, that is like a difficult question because a lot of times India was depending on handicrafts in addition to agriculture. They were trying to promote handicrafts to generate income for the poor, for the rural people, but that was not all that successful in the sense that even today we have a lot of rural poverty. So they may have to do something different or something, uh,
Why not build
something.
manufacturing?
Manufacturing is difficult. It's all the city based, most of the
Ah,
manufacturing. Yeah. So they have to do something like promoting handicrafts or marketing handicrafts, etc., like that, all over the world, or try to export them uh, for foreign consumption. But even that may not be enough. So they have to find out how to improve the lives of rural people. There are, of course, some rural um, people who have prospered, but not enough of them.
oh, okay. Does anyone have any questions for my dad? Let's take questions from the viewers if they have any while he's here. Well, China was able to do it by building special industrial zones in rural areas. Why can't India copy something like what China has done?
India already has industrial zones,
Uh-huh.
but they are in and around big cities like Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore,
Mhm.
Calcutta, Madras, etc. But yeah, the problem is used to be transportation. Transportation was a big problem.
So they need
Now Modi has solved some of the important transportation problems through high-speed trains, so it might improve. He might try to do that using high-speed trains to transport for transportation and give subsidies for rural population regarding transportation. But it would be a very expensive proposition, uh, and it is rural credit is available nowadays, but still.
What is rural credit for people who are not familiar?
Rural credit means poor people get small amounts of money. It's called microfinance.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Rural people get small amounts of money to start some kind of a business, which they can generate some revenues.
But don't 90% of all entrepreneurships fail?
Yeah.
So it seems like
Yeah, they do have training centers, etc.,
Mhm.
for rural people, but not enough again.
Mhm.
So they have to upgrade the technology also, so that rural people can use more of the internet, etc., and try to come up with newer ideas for their business.
So you're saying the main problem with rural poverty is that there's not enough infrastructure in India. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Nowadays there is infrastructure in the sense that a lot of roads have been laid, and new types of trains have been introduced, and and again, train service has been expanded to include a lot of rural areas. But again, as I said, that may not be enough for eliminating rural poverty, but to some extent it might improve rural poverty in the sense that reduce rural poverty.
Well, thank you very much
Mhm.
for joining us.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure when Narendra Modi will come up with some kind of an interesting uh, economic policy that would try to reduce inequality in India.
But not eliminate it like China. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Um, that was my dad, everyone. I can't hear you, Janet.
Oh, I was muted. Am I? You can hear me now, though, right? Yeah. So, Techloid Tech did ask, do you have an opinion about the
Hold on
beach?
1 second. I'm having trouble hearing, so can you say something again?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hmm.
Let's see. Maybe, okay. Oh, okay, say something again.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but not too well. So let me just make. Okay, now say something.
Hello?
Yeah, now I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. All right. So, Techloid Tech did ask, do you have an opinion about the BJP?
Okay, so it's complicated in that what's going on right now is that the BJP, they're like a mixed bag in that they are doing some poverty elimination programs, but then they're also engaged in a lot of neoliberalism. So it's a very mixed bag policy. So on the one hand, they are helping with rural poverty, like my dad explained. But on the other hand, they're also limiting their solutions by not doing the belt and road style infrastructure like China is, but instead are looking for neoliberal solutions.
Yeah. Because Petamilis says India can't do what China is doing because the BJP isn't a communist party.
Yep, basically.
Okay. So, do you have anything else on the Indian elections, or do you want to?
Well, like I said, the exit polls just came out, and it looks like the coalition that BJP is in is going to form another majority government. So it's a lot like the UK system, where so there's two houses, Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha. Lok Sabha is like the House of Commons, and whoever has a majority, whichever coalition has a majority, the Lok Sabha forms the government, and so that's what's going to happen.
Is that so? They kind of adopted the UK when they got freedom from the UK. They kind of adopted it.
Kind of, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, except that we don't have a king, for example.
True. You don't have a monarchy. Yeah.
India is a real republic. They don't things like that. So, like in the UK, the House of Commons forms an election after they form a government with the permission of the king, and so it's not that backwards.
Yeah. True. But what about the nationalism of the BJP is what Alex Marquez is asking.
Oh, it's there. So there's both the ethno-nationalism and the caste-based caste fortifications that they tend to do stronger. So a lot of the BJP supporters tend to be wealthier, urban, higher caste people. And yeah, they, so what it is that they're not, okay, so they have passed some laws, like they've made it so that people who used to be in Bangladesh before some year can't be Indian citizens. So, I mean, that's clearly targeted at Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, they don't crack down on vigilante violence. And they encourage vigilante violence against minorities. And so that's the main problem. And that's always been the main problem in India, is that because the constitution is very robust in protecting minority rights, and there's like a very strong reservation for people who have people from lower castes and who belong to what's considered historically backwards tribes and castes. But they are not promoting it. So there's a big difference between a government that doesn't promote it and that kind of reluctantly accepts it versus a government that promotes it. And so it's there, and there's going to be a lot more vigilante violence like that has been around for the past 10 years now. So that's there. And unfortunately, the problem is that Congress Party it's like, okay, so with Congress Party, the head of the Congress Party is Rahul Gandhi, who is Nehru's great grandson, Indira Gandhi's grandson, Rajiv Gandhi's son. And so it's a lot of nepotism, and people are kind of tired of the nepotism, and they promoted a lot of neoliberalism. In fact, Congress was the party that opened up the markets in 1992 that allowed a lot of neoliberal reforms to happen in India, including privatizations. And they are a lot like the Democratic Party in that they're very limited in how they can critique the BJP. So that's what it is.
Yeah. Daryl Davis is asking, is there such thing as a Hindu socialism?
No, because in fact, you should read Dr. Ambedkar. He also mentions that ancient Hindus, like before the British came, people didn't consider themselves as a united society. Instead, they saw themselves as a collection of castes. And so Hinduism itself is a label pushed upon these different various practices that was going on in India by the British. So, and a lot of it is based on the caste system. So it's kind of hard to promote, to have a religion that is so entrenched in caste system and also have socialism. So it's an inherent contradiction. And Dr. Ambedkar didn't think it's possible to solve that contradiction within Hinduism until you eliminated caste, basically.
Okay, so I kind of brought up that, that it was, kind of adopted some of the British stuff, but Daryl's also saying that socialism is enshrined in India's.
Yes, it is. India is a socialist republic. It is in the Article 5 of the Indian Constitution that socialism is enshrined. But unfortunately, as we've seen in the past, in the past 20 years, neoliberalism has, like, the original idea of India from 1947 was that it's supposed to be like Mas in Bolivia and transition over to socialism. And it was happening a lot of it was happening until the 1980s, and then the Reagan years happened with the IMF, and then the World Bank, IMF came over. A lot of predatory after the Soviet Union collapsed, and so a lot of neoliberalism happened. So while it is enshrined in the Constitution, policies have turned from that Bolivia-like movement towards socialism.
Yeah, yeah. Did the Buddhists try technoid?
What India doesn't have that big of a Buddhist population.
Okay.
Let me see. What is India's Buddhist population?
So Padamila's just asking.
Okay. According to India, India has about 8.5 million Buddhists, which is about 0.7% of the country's total population.
Oh yeah, that's probably what we have in the U.S. too. So, Padamilo is asking. It is written in India's constitution
Yes.
that it is a socialist country. Okay.
Let me read that. The people of India have solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic, to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity of the nation.
Thanks. Yes. All right.
And then the text was later amended during the Indira Gandhi, where the word socialist, secular socialist republic was added, basically.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Anything else on India? Any more questions? Anyone? Which party enshrined that into law?
Well, okay, until 1992, until neoliberalism came, there was only one party in power, and that was the Congress Party. And then basically what happened is that a lot of these foreign NGOs that were supported by Americans started helping the Hindu nationalist parties. And then that's how BJP came into power first time in around 1997.
Ah, okay. All right. Anything else, anyone, on India before we move on to another part of the world? All right, what do you want to do? Mexico or South Africa?
Because they're having a very similar. Well, their Congress Party is also the African National Congress Party is having the same trouble. So South Africa has its elections, and the African ANC conceded. Okay, so South Africa, the ANC lost its majority in the first time since apartheid ended.
Yeah.
So normally they receive like a lot, like they have a big super majority. But then this is the first time that they've lost about. Now they only have a plurality, which is about 40%.
Yeah.
So the party called EFF, which is Economic Freedom Fighters, have gotten a good hold. But then there's also this other neoliberal spoiler party that ended up getting about. Okay, so this is what it is. The Democratic Alliance had 21.8%. The Umkhonto we Sizwe MK, a new party, this is the neoliberal party I'm talking about, formed by Jacob Zuma, managed at 10%. The EFF got about 9.8%. And and so this means that they'll have to make a coalition government. And
the EFF is a Marxist party, right?
Something like.
Are they more Trump?
They're a land rights party. I don't know if they're a Marxist party, but they're definitely a land rights party. They're very popular with the rural population, and they're definitely into land reform.
Yeah, the AP called them a Marxist party. That's why
then they're a Marxist party.
So then, so the guy that runs that party, or Malema, he has, so like the best thing for the ANC to do would do a coalition with the EFF, and then that would give them over 50% now. Where they had, like, the last election, they had over 57%, and before it was always over 60%. Like when Mandela ran, it was like well over 70%, right? Like 80% or something, right?
Exactly. But then back then they were a Marxist party, and then they became neoliberal as time went on, and they became pretty neoliberal. So they've been hurting with both the white voters and black voters for the same kind of reasons.
Yeah. Daryl is saying that the ANC kept its promises to many forces of reaction, and that screwed them.
That is absolutely correct.
All right.
And more than the forces of reaction, it is the neoliberalism, in my opinion.
All right. He's also saying EFF is Marxist-Leninist.
Okay, then they are.
Okay. All right. So that would be a better thing, because they would at least be able to move some of the ANC back over to Marxist-Leninism, correct? So,
in theory, I think I've spoken to this man. He's an Afrikaner. He thinks ANC is too entrenched within the Marxist, within the neoliberal frame for them to move towards a more socialist.
Yeah, because that's what they were saying. Malema has like an issue. Malema is the EFF guy, and he has an issue with the ANC. Like he may actually not want to hook up with them or something like that. Like that's what
Zuma's party might, because they're neoliberal too, and so they're kind of like a spoiler party. And so, like I said, people in South Africa think that they're too entrenched within within the neoliberal paradigm for them to have meaningful change, even if they've been hurt electorally because of it.
So without having the 50%, like they have to either do this alliance or try to pick another person that could get over 60%.
No, they have to. It's just like India. They have to do a coalition.
Okay. All right.
So, but the coalition in India has already been decided before the elections, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Here, the coalition is going to be decided now.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on the South Africa?
Let's see. I don't know. Is there anything else?
You gave me an article, but
Nothing really.
yeah,
Besides the yeah, nothing really. Basically, besides the neoliberalism, I guess.
yeah. So yeah,
I don't think it'll change South Africa's historic case against Israel in the ICC, regardless of who
no,
comes
because
to.
like the ANC, yeah, because the ANC
All the
still
parties seem to agree on that. I think most of the parties seem to agree on that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that I mean, I don't think that's going to affect anything, and I think it's just. I think it's just looking at who's going to be president because it depends on the
Prime
coalition.
Minister, President, Prime Minister. Is that the president or Prime Minister?
Uh, I don't know. I didn't write it down. The Ramaphosa is the current whatever prime minister or president.
Oh,
So
it is president. Okay, the president is the head of state in South Africa.
yeah. So he they're
But
thinking that they might have to get rid of him is what they're thinking. That he might
that might be the compromise in order to get
yeah
in order to get
the
a
coalition
coalition, majority coalition.
yeah. What is Daryl saying? The USSR was overthrown and it really screwed the ANC over, but I don't want to be weird because it's on Africa, not Russia.
Well, I think what happened is that Mandela became a little more compromising because of that. It's not really. Daryl is right. In some ways, it affected it. It affected Angola the same way. It affected a lot of countries in the same way, is that
Yeah.
they needed to be indebted to the IMF, and IMF comes with the structural reforms that kind of takes away sovereignty. So he's right in that, but it's not like the weird.
Yeah, it wasn't the full thing. He also says it was the ANC by itself versus U.S., Britain, the National Party. All of the ANC's people were wiped off the map from 1989 to 91.
Ah, that makes sense.
So
only when they began negotiating was when there was a defamed ANC.
yeah, so the reformers came in basically, right?
Yeah.
At that time when Russia went under, the reformers came in and they accepted neoliberalism and the fall of the Soviet Union did a lot around the world.
Yep.
Sadly. All right. Anything
So let's
else?
move on to Mexico.
Mexico.
This is actually amusing because AP is really pissed off at the Mexico election results. A violent, polarized Mexico goes to the polls to choose between two women presidential candidates. Mexico goes into Sunday's election deeply divided. Friends and relatives no longer talk politics for fear of worsening unbridgeable divides, while drug cartels have split the country into a patchwork quilt of warring fiefdoms. That's a big exaggeration. That's like a huge exaggeration. Atmosphere is literally heating up amid a wave of unusual heat, drought, pollution, and political violence. This is just over the top. So basically, there is Soledad. Okay. I'm sorry. So basically, there have the Sheinbaum, Claudia Sheinbaum, who's the mayor of Mexico City, who is running because a president can't have consecutive terms. Like AMLO can't have two consecutive terms in Mexico. You have to have a rest in between. And she is in AMLO's party, and so she wants to continue his politics, which is pretty good in that the wages have risen, unemployment has been lowered, crime has been reduced. He also stuck his thumb against some of the free trade deals. He's allowed the DPRK to open its embassy. He has de-recognized Taiwan as a country. And so they're going to continue those policies. The U.S. has been trying to do some sort of weird color revolution-y things in Mexico without much success. But they also, unfortunately, the things that they have not done is they do continue with the border cooperation, where where Mexico agrees to not let Guatemalans come in in order, like not use Mexico as a like a what do you call it, like as a transit ground to go
Yeah.
to the U.S.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to do that because it's like they should, it's their board. Like they don't need to do that, but they do that. So that is the mixed bag, but it seems to be like so far, hands down, AMLO is the best president Mexico has ever had.
Mhm.
And it seems like that policy is continuing, and you can see that the U.S. newspapers are pretty pissed at that. So elections are going to be tomorrow in Mexico because it's always done on a holiday. And yeah,
Yeah. Where was it that I like looking in this article where they put like Scheinbaum is an academic who lacks Lopez Obrador's charisma, folksy style, and mass appeal. She says her administration will follow the outgoing president's policies, but with more data to back up her decisions. So it's like, she's kind of like this is how AP put it. And then Galvez, a woman who went from a poor indigenous town and started like I mean her paragraph's like twice as big.
Yeah.
Poor indigenous town starting her own tech firm. She
sounds like a horrible. Yeah. She's not. Galvez. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Like that just shows you their bias. And AMLO was a ranch, like had owned a, like he's not. I mean, he's charismatic and he is a good public speaker, but it's not like he is. I don't know. It's not like they try to make him seem like a cowboy, and he's not a cowboy.
Well, they want to make him like a populist, right? Like they want to say
He is a populist in that he has done lots of good policies that are popular with the.
Yeah.
They built some infrastructure like highways, things like that. But yeah, Scheinbaum was going to continue, and she's also against Israel too. So they're going to continue those policies within Mexico, and they're pissed at that because, of course, they are threatened by the Belt and Road Initiative, and Mexico has been turning its nose at many of the U.S. foreign policies. It's not the reliable, like what's his name? Who's the guy before AMLO who's like a total neoliberal? I can't remember his name.
I can't either. Hold on. I can get it 1 second.
Nieto.
Yeah, Nieto. Yeah,
Nieto.
Pene Nieto. Yeah. I remember him.
Yeah, Nieto. He was like in the international stage, they could rely on them, but AMLO's did not do that. So so they have been trying to do the AMLO it hurts free press, like because he insulted a New York Times reporter for printing absolute lies. So you've seen that kind of anti-AMLO propaganda. John Oliver had the worst episode about AMLO because he was like, AMLO's just like Trump because Trump said drain the swamp, and AMLO's like, I want to end corruption. And it's like, no, they're different because AMLO wants to do it. Trump says he'll do it.
Yeah. And they're making like the whole thing like I was reading so many articles and they're trying to do like why are they not like if you look at it, it's two women, so a woman's going to be the next president. I mean, there's a guy running, but he's not right. So there's the two women, and they're all like, okay, so when Hillary like, first, but like this was like a big deal. They're not even like, Mexico's not making a big deal of it. You wonder why, huh?
That's because it's a different culture that prioritizes different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Representation, just blind representation is less meaningful there than having policy changes.
I mean, so she like, and the thing also that they're mentioning, so this must be because she is part Jewish, correct? Like she
is Jewish.
So so that probably drives them crazy that she's
especially since she's not going to be pro-Israel.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That was one of the more major reasons why they're upset with her. So,
Mexico recognize Israel. I think Mexico does. Colombia doesn't.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, okay. Clashes erupt outside. Oh, yeah. Somebody set fire to the Israeli embassy in Mexico City.
Oh, yeah. That was a couple of days ago too.
Okay, so on May 29th, anti-Israel, okay, this is obviously very biased in their language. Anti-Israel rioters clashed with police at Mexico City's Israel embassy, and basically they set fire to that. Oh, okay. Quietly, oh my God, Times of Israel, this is really funny. Quietly, Jewish scientists poised to win Sunday's Mexican presidential election.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so she's Jewish, but she's not pro-Israel.
Yeah. So that, I think that's probably a big issue too. So that, like, the U.S. was watching the election closely, and you know what that means if the U.S. is watching an election closely.
It means they're trying to do a color revolution, but they're failing.
So yeah.
They're trying to steal the election, but they really can't do it.
Yeah.
So they have to watch.
But and then what else do we want to talk about?
Oh, Georgia, they're doing good because okay. So basically, so Georgia passed this bill that forces any media outlet, any political organization with over 20% foreign funding to register as a foreign agent. The president of Georgia, who used to be a French citizen who was born in France and who worked for the French Foreign Services, i.e. a foreign agent, vetoed that bill. But thankfully, after 2013, Georgia's presidency has been completely defanged. So the parliament overruled her veto with a 50.1 majority, like 50% plus one vote. And so she is and she's up for elections this year too. And then what you see is that all these foreign agents, like literally the foreign minister of Lithuania, the foreign minister of Poland, members of the German parliament are all in Georgia they're trying to spin this as Georgia becoming pro-Russian as opposed to just promoting their sovereignty. And one of the members, the speaker of the parliament, who's part of the Georgia Dream Party, which is the non-EU aligned party, said that he didn't say who, but one of the diplomats threatened him with like a Robert Fico style assassination attempt if this law should be passed. And you see all these like typical color revolution style protests where you see them like close up and all these signs in English and all these people who want to join the EU. Mm-hmm. But of course, if you look at the economic agreements, what it allows, what it deregulates, what kind of the economic impact, it's clear that they don't really have a super majority. Like majority of the Georgians don't want lower wage, like they don't want to turn into Ukraine, basically.
How would it be pro-Russian though if it's foreign agent? Like Russians would be foreign agents, right?
Exactly.
So like everyone would have to.
Russia. Yeah.
Like
it would be considered a foreign agent, and they would have to register it, just like any party that gets money.
So it's pro-Georgian, is what it is. It's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it makes it much harder for organizations like the National Endowment for Democracy. There's also the European Endowment for Democracy and so on to interfere in Georgia's elections and also like pollute their media atmosphere. And so they're pissed at that. Yeah. But when you look at what happened to Ukraine, how can any country allow them to do that?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like all the countries seem to be like smartening up. You know what I mean? Like, I even remember just a couple of years ago, like the president in Bahamas being like, being questioned about being friendly with Russia or something. And they're like, we can be friends with Russia and the United States. Like like China, Russia, United States. Like we like you can't dictate who we can be friends with, So it's
exactly. So that's kind of what's going on. And right now it's just like it hasn't turned violent protests like in Maidan. Yeah. But we'll have to see. And so far, and like I said, every country should definitely not allow the National Endowment for Democracy to do anything in their country.
Never. Like, I mean, I don't know. They've shown, I mean, they were doing bad things, and you would have thought that people would have seen it before Ukraine, but in what happened in Ukraine, like, I mean,
Yeah, Ukraine is like the worst example. I mean, in Myanmar, they had Aung San Suu Kyi, whose
yeah,
economic, we've covered this before, whose economic advisor was Sean something. He's like an Australian citizen.
yeah,
And yeah, so then what happened was that the military, when the president is a threat to the national security by allowing Australians to dictate your economic policy, the role of the military is to protect the sovereignty of the country. So then they kicked her out. But then everyone in the Western media has always been calling them the junta as
yeah,
opposed to the government.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Even though they literally have been like they literally fulfill their duty to protect their sovereignty.
Yeah. And Myanmar is like the only country out there that doesn't recognize Palestine now. Right? Like out in that, well, besides Australia, like right out
I
there.
don't know. I don't know if they
I
recognize
think
that.
I had a map. Okay, who recognizes? I was looking at a map yesterday of it. Let me share this thing. Where's the map? Where's the map? Uh,
Oh, okay.
there was, yeah, it's like this is a map of it.
Okay.
Screen. It's taking a little bit to load everything today.
I can't see. Yeah, Myanmar does not recognize it. You're right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, so it seems like Asia, South America, and Africa overwhelmingly recognize Palestine, and Europe and North America don't.
Yeah, exactly. In
Okay.
Australia. In Australia.
And same thing. Okay, yeah, in Australia. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and many countries like Colombia, Venezuela, Nicaragua have cut off diplomatic ties with Israel over the past few months in
Yep.
South America. So that's kind of interesting to see what will
Yeah.
happen with Steinbaum in Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honduras also cut off its diplomatic. I know Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Bolivia, maybe. Yeah, they all cut off its diplomatic relations with Israel.
Do you can you give me like 2 minutes and you talk about something and then we can come back and talk about Trump?
Oh yeah. So what do we talk about?
I just need to I just need 2 minutes and I'll be right back.
Okay, so let me look at let's see if we have any questions. Let's see. Yeah, the negative spin. Where Pilgrim says the negative spin on the Mexican elections has been off on the charts. Absolutely, it's been completely off the charts. They've been trying to make it like it's almost like the Hollywood yellow filter they put for Mexico, where they're trying to make it seem like a dangerous gang-infested place. And it's clearly because AMLO's party has not been following the neoliberal Washington consensus in its domestic and foreign policy. And the US can't do much, it seems like, in Mexico in terms of interference, because it's not like the 1800s anymore. Things have changed, and their ability to influence elections and act outright coups have been severely curtailed in Latin America over the past 50 years. And so, yeah, all they've gotten is listless crying that you can see through the American press, where it seems like, yeah. And the funny thing is, AMLO is not like, it's not Bolivia, it's not Venezuela. Well, one thing that AMLO has been doing very strongly is fighting against the U.S. blockade against Cuba. He's been giving speeches against it. He called it genocide. And so it shows you the lack of independence in American media when they're really have not looked at any of its policies, but they're going on vibes alone. And yeah, Mexico is not, like, the Monroe Doctrine is not applicable, and this is the last gasp of the empire that's crying about that about not having a backyard anymore, even though it was never their backyard, if that makes sense. Let's see, anyone else? If they don't do that, Team MC, if they do that, then they're only half awake. I don't understand. But yeah, the negative spin has throughout all mainstream media channels on Mexico's elections have been completely off the charts. Hey, Janet, welcome back.
Hello. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So where Pilgrim said the negative spin on Mexico's elections has been off the charts, and I was explaining why. So there's also the Cuba blockade issue that AMLO is really opposed to U.S. continuing the blockade against Cuba and so on. And so it's like they are upset that they cannot do the Monroe Doctrine anymore in Latin America.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just, from everything you're just looking at, like, it seems like the world order, you know what I mean? Like, it's just starting to kind of tilt against the United States in a lot of ways.
I would more like balance, not even against. Like, the U.S. doesn't have the same undue influence that it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Balance. Yeah. I would say that too. Like, it's balancing more that, okay, U.S., you're just another country. Like, you're not the world police. We're not accepting your help anymore.
Exactly. No more shock doctrine.
So I mean, it's a good thing, because I feel like more places are waking up to it. But, like, I feel like the socialism end of it is not. I don't know. Do you think that people are picking it up and, like, going the right way with it?
Extremely poor countries, all you need to do is remove the imperial boot from the neck, and eventually socialism will happen. That's why the U.S. works so hard in overthrowing all these, like, even mildly progressive governments. So I think imperialism is the biggest contradiction. As long as there is imperialism, it's hard to have any kind of meaningful socialism.
Daryl is saying the existence, I don't know. Okay, the existence of Canada, half the Caribbean, and French Guiana show that Monroe Doctrine was always whatever. But I feel like we still had way too much influence in a lot of those places.
Well, yeah, I mean, when U.S. corporations are, like, flooding their markets, and for example, in Haiti, Hillary Clinton was able to lobby to lower the minimum wage, which is supposed to be a purely domestic matter, at the behest of her donors to the Clinton Foundation, and that was successful. So even if there isn't, like, outright military coups like that they did back in the day, like with Allende and things like that, there is still economic.
They do it, like, with corporations, and, like, they did it with, like, the Clinton Foundation and
Exactly. So
and
there
NEC and stuff. Like, they do it with, like, those programs that they put out and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. But even that has been lowered, less than what it used to be.
All right. Yeah.
So let's move on to Trump.
Okay.
So basically, this is one of the weirdest cases, because what he did was that he was okay. So basically, he gave like a hush money to this pornographic star, Stormy Daniels, and it happened because what happened is that he tried to give it through the campaign finance, but then the main problem was lying about it and concealing the records. That was the main problem. So if he had just said, like, if he had written her a personal check from his personal account and said hush money, that would have not been a problem, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it was just how he did it, and then he tried to hide it. But
yeah.
I mean, how many times
If he literally had openly written like a check that said for hush money and given it to her from his personal account, this would not have been a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
he was convicted on all 34 counts. The sentencing is supposed to take place in July
11th.
July 11th, and allegedly he can go up to prison for 4 years for each count, but that's highly unlikely to happen. And I feel like with his base, it's probably going to make him like a martyr, even.
Yep.
So it's not going to help. But I bet you with the sentencing, he will be given like heavy fines, basically.
Yeah, it's fine, probation, and up
Maybe
to 4
probation.
years. And then because he has a spotless record, it's hard for me to say that because we know why he has a spotless record. But I mean, because he has a spotless record, that he probably won't get any time. And I watch like Michael Cohen friggin' saying, but because he was a president, we really shouldn't put him away. Like maybe he could be on house arrest or something like that. It's like whatever. Like it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. Like because he wins in November, then none of this matters. Like anything that's happening right now does not matter. But
exactly.
So then
a lot of the Democrats are like really like have this, oh my God, how can we have a president who's convicted? And it's like, wait a minute, every president should be convicted of like much worse in a just world.
It's like Bibi said about him and the ICC. Well, what are you gonna like convict Bush Jr.? Like are you gonna convict him over? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, please do it.
I'm for it.
I'm for it. Send it to The Hague.
So like, yeah, all right. Like I don't like. It's just funny to me because like I mean even when I I'm like yeah they'll probably get him on it, but like they're not going to do anything about it. Like this.
Yeah, this is, and I mean this is so. It also I'm not sure how most independent people feel. Because I feel like most Republicans feel this is like a political partisan persecution, and most Democrats feel like this is like some sort of like upholding rule of law. And I feel like it's neither. I wouldn't call it because he definitely did do it, and just because other presidents who have done similar or worse things haven't been held accountable doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything to me.
Tim uses the right like Trump theater like the rest of DC.
Like exactly. That's a good way of saying it. Trump theater. Exactly. So it is some sort of theatrical purpose, but I'm okay with that. I just don't know if it will have the desired, because the Democrats have this imaginary moderate Republicans that are outraged by these indecencies of Trump, but they're not. No, like most moderate Republicans are still going to be voting via party lines, and they're not attainable. So I just don't see what purpose this will have.
Yeah.
What do you think?
All right. So the only thing, like,
and why? I can't believe she. Hold on. I cannot believe she accepted only $130,000.
I know exactly.
Uppity hush money.
Well, he doesn't really have. He was never really a billionaire, I don't think. So like,
I'm sure he can afford more than like 500,000, at least $1 million.
Yeah. At least $500,000, yeah.
I know 150 is very cheap hush money.
But yeah, I mean, like, well, so the sentencing July 11th is a few days before the RNC. So I don't like, there could be some weird little thing they do, like if they sentence him heavy. It could be weird at the RNC because you have people that are against him in the RNC. Like you have like,
I think
what's the guy with the bushy mustache who's the war hawk there? Bolton. Bolton's against like he was in his cabinet. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. There's like literally 5 people in all of the Republic who are seriously against him.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if they convince to pull someone else, like they'll probably whatever. But
Let me change my camera better.
okay. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I think that he'll get fines. He'll go on to be the nominee, and he'll. I don't know. I mean, probably win in November. Biden did enough that
it's still too early to say with November for me because
yeah.
I feel uncomfortable making predictions without following data.
Well, I just think because from what I hear, okay, me being in a Democratic state all the time, so many people are against Biden now. Like, and so many people that were against Biden are not speaking against Trump as much as I heard them speaking against Trump before. So it kind of makes me think like, okay, like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he's not going to win Massachusetts. There's no way Trump wins New York, Massachusetts, or California. But I mean, just hearing certain people that normally would have just voted Democrat or were independents that are just so sick of what Biden did or something, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the main states will be Michigan, Pennsylvania, Florida, Arizona, Ohio, and
that matter.
And it'll be, and in each of these states, it was a coin. Last time it was a coin toss, and the time before it was literally a coin toss. So,
I mean, he definitely lost Michigan now. I mean, he had Michigan. I think he lost Michigan. I don't think he's getting Michigan.
Biden I don't know.
I don't think Biden's going to get Michigan unless.
Oh no way!
So he lost Michigan, but that's still not. I mean, that's not. He still had well more, so he'd have to like lose how many of the. I think he has to lose like at least 3 of those states or something.
So, okay, last time he won Ohio. Actually, let me just check the electoral map.
Pennsylvania was the one that wasn't that contested for a little bit. That was the weird one. And then
okay, so it looks like Biden won in 2020. Biden won Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, and Trump won Ohio, Florida, and Ohio and Florida.
So he probably will keep Ohio. He'll keep Florida. He'll keep Ohio. He'll now get Michigan. And then but he'd have to get like at least 2 or 3 more of those states, right? From Biden.
Okay, so in order, let me check. Okay. I'm looking at the 2020 map right now. So the 2020 map, okay, in order for Trump to win, he needs Biden got Texas?
Oh, I didn't. Really? That's weird.
Or maybe I'm going to have to look at this. Is weird. Okay, let me look at the map. No, Biden did not get Texas. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong map.
Okay. I was going to say that.
Biden didn't get Georgia. Okay, so Biden got, wait, where is the 2020 electoral map?
I have one here. I have the CNN one. Get off my computer, you. Go.
Biden did not get Texas. I'm sorry. Biden got Georgia, Arizona, New Mexico, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so it's I think it's like he has to lose
Michigan, Pennsylvania, and one more state.
And then if he loses Pennsylvania, 20, that's 36 points, 36 up, 36 down. And then he would just have to have like Arizona or Wisconsin or Georgia.
For Trump?
For Trump, yeah. I definitely think that he got Michigan now. If he gets Pennsylvania and keeps those other ones, then he just needs like Georgia or Arizona.
Okay.
Like
So like I said, it's too early, and those dates
Yeah.
are going to be very close.
Yep. Yep. So, well, it'll be interesting, but I mean, I don't really care.
It'll be interesting in a horse race kind of way, but not in a will policy actually change kind of way.
Yeah, no, policy will not change one bit. It'll be the same.
Nothing will fundamentally change.
So,
Although you see a lot of like, okay, one particular YouTuber, Sam Cedar, he keeps trying to say that in the margins, the Democrats are better. But then each year the margin gets small. The margin where they are getting where they're better gets smaller and smaller.
yeah.
Like with like they won't fight Medicare expansion within the state, something blah blah blah, and then the next year it's something like even smaller than that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't really matter to the American people because it's the same policy no matter what. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the whole everyone worried about the Project 2025, but you know what? A lot of people suffer.
The Project 2025.
Huh?
What is the Project 2025?
Oh, that's the whole Republican thing, the Project 2025.
Which is
It's just their policies that they want to do, and the liberals get all upset. All right, the liberal of Washington, effort brought. I just. It's all like the Heritage Foundation.
now for conservative. Okay, it sounds normal Republican-y agenda.
Yeah, it's just that's all it is, and they're trying to like the Democrats are like, oh my god, but have you read about Project 2025? I'm like, that's what they do. That's their agenda, no matter what.
It's apparently a Heritage Foundation project, so it's like the same. It's like the normal Republican agenda, which is privatization, deregulation, austerity, blah blah, and so forth.
Yeah, I mean it's what's happening anyways. It doesn't really freaking matter. I don't know, but anywho, what is there anything else you want to talk about, or you want
to? Let's see if there's any questions. I don't have anything else to talk about besides this, because we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, a lot of the election stuff and everything.
Yeah. So if there's any questions, we'll discuss that, or else guest recommendations for next week would be also helpful.
Yes. We've been a little busy.
I've been flying. I had a long, very, very long flight.
So, but we'll get
I had
back
to go
to
from Russia to a bus to Estonia, then a boat to Finland, then a flight to New York, then a train to Connecticut.
Oh, I forget that you don't go right from Russia to Finland. You have to go through Estonia, right?
Yeah, because in last November they banned the border crossing between Russia and Finland. Before I used to be able to take a bus straight to Finland.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, all right. Now I understand why you keep going through Estonia. Okay, but
yeah. So Finland has like one border crossing, which is in Murmansk, which is in the North Pole, but that's way more expensive than just taking a bus to Tallinn and then taking a $30 boat ride to.
Ferry or yeah. Yeah, that would be a long. Thank you, Techloid Tech. He says, "Great show."
Thank you so much, Techloid Tech. Right? Yes, I'm in the U.S. for now.
For a bit.
Would love to relax and enjoy the chit chat, but break at work. Okay. Well, thank you again. Yeah, we will. Let's see. Yeah.
What do we need to talk? Well, like, what's a good? who should we talk to next week? I don't know.
We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
So, like I said, what's been? I mean, I could also do a little bit more clickbaity if I keep up on like all the stupid YouTubers like Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro's, like all the right wingers, but I don't I don't have patience for that gossip. You understand? You guys know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it's sometimes it's fun to do, and other times it's just like, what am I like? Like, am I just like elevating these people, or am I just like, I don't know? It's
Well,
like,
I mean, we're not big enough to elevate anyone, but it's like, do we really want to spend hours watching these other dumb
yeah,
YouTubers to debunk
yeah,
them? Is that a good waste of our? Is that a good use of our
yeah.
time?
I think that in some point, I know that this is more, we're doing more of the news stuff, but we should get back a little bit into doing some theory
Oh,
and
absolutely. We should. Well, let's discuss that over this
yeah,
week
because
and
I
figure out a
think
schedule.
I want to say I feel like we're heading into it's the need for education at this point.
Exactly. The need for education is very important, and the understanding the leftist struggle for leftist. What is the problem? What needs to be done? What is to be done? That part is definitely the biggest missing picture, and it feels like so many people are put their energies in a lot of fruitless endeavors, like campaigning for. I mean, actually, canvassing for congressional candidates does have a good where you can build relationships and get to meet
Yeah.
people, and so you can help build your own network. That actually has a very good use. But there's a lot of weird ways to waste your energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mentioned that I was on a TikTok live and I'm just in the comments and I mentioned something about you using, using the get out the vote stuff, like the door knocking or the phone calling, just like phone baking, just to say to other people, like, oh, you should become a communist. No, like try to talk to them.
Well, yeah. I mean, that
But
is how you do. You build relationships. So
yeah,
personal door to door is way more effective than phone
yeah,
banking, and
yeah.
absolutely, like using those networks, picking up new contacts, meeting new people. Like that's that's the way to be done.
All right, for guests, Tech Lloyd Tech says, "LOL, Grover Fur,"
Okay. I can contact him. We can have him on.
and then Daryl says, "Max."
Okay, we can do
You
both.
haven't had Max on for a while, so
I know I haven't had him on for a while.
I
Um.
don't.
Okay. So yeah. Do we have anything else? I'm getting. My jet lag is curing itself. I went on a walk today and then I fell in a muddy puddle. So it was very.
I know the mud's been crazy this year. Like up in this part, you're in a you're in the same part as me. Uh,
Yeah, it's been muddy for you too in Boston.
oh, it's been horrible. My poor garden. Like I ended up having to put. I was going to put my cucumbers in the ground, but I must have dug out way too many rocks last year, so the dirt got like all compacted. So now like there's just big puddles where I
Yeah,
wanted to do
it's
the
very
cucumbers. So I
slushy
had to put
here
them.
too in
Yeah.
Connecticut.
So I had to put them in. I had to put my cucumbers in containers. So who's
Yeah, it's very slushy here too.
Tim wants you to do Pepe Escobar. Uh,
Okay, we'll
who's
make a list and
Harpo? Who's Harpo Brer? I don't know who
he
that is.
is in the UK Communist Party.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Okay.
You know what? I'll take down these names. I'll take down those couple of names so
Okay.
we revisit, so I don't forget them.
Mm.
I'm sorry if that just made a big noise. My mic just fell over.
Oh my God, we have okay. We are good. We are. I got a notification that we are live on Twitter.
Yeah. We've been live on Twitter. I didn't really check Twitter too much. Did we get any I forgot. I had it open down there and I was gonna check it, but then my computer landed down there. All right. So anything else? Oh.
For me, not really. Check out our documentary that we released last week called Myths About Nazis. We'll get more parts done.
Yes, we're gonna start working on that. All right.
And
Names, people.
yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, so there is a lot. There's so many aspects to everything that can be discussed to ad infinitum. But then there's also so many repetition. It's kind of hard to say. Is there anything else?
I know, but yeah, we'll.
Oh, Dr. Morendi. Yeah, we can have any. Okay, we'll make a list and we'll think about it.
Yes. So, all right.
Okay, with that, thank you for joining us. We'll have a longer show next week. With that, I will say bye-bye.
Bye.